it's Anna, also known as Book Anna, and today we're gonna go through my June wrap-up, what I read in the month of June. So first of all, I want to apologize for not posting last week. I had some exams and I just didn't have any time to post anything or to edit anything or to film anything, so I decided that I wanted to be doing it. This is not something that should be happening. Also, I just washed my hair, but this is not something that should be happening in the future, but sometimes maybe it will. But I will try my best to have a video for every week. Let's just get into my wrap up. First of all, I read 10 books this month, and I had some really great reads and I had some really bad reads also, and I'm gonna go from the worst to the best read that I have. Also, I'm not gonna be talking about every single book that much because I already talked about most of them, and the books that I didn't talk about that much I'm gonna be talking a little more about. The worst book I read this month, and I think it's the worst book of the year for me also, is Battle of the Linguistic Mages by Scott Moore. I don't know. I actually didn't read this book till the end. I DNF'd it, and I don't usually DNF books, but this one was just really, really bad. It was really not good. I DNF'd it today being 7th of July. I DNF'd this book because I just couldn't make myself read it anymore. The way so it started okay. It started with like every mediocre book start. It's kind of Ready Player One inspired, so I also had some preconceived opinions about it, about what it should be. It wasn't that. The main character is female and she's insufferable, and the VR game that they play is kind of glitter dungeon and rave themed, and then they just do these spells. They need to say the spell in a certain way, and then it turns out that those spells actually affect people in real life. I read almost half of it and I decided that I couldn't read anymore because, God, the writing style, there were also dialogue parts that were written like, she said blah 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 blah, I said blah 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 blah, she said blah blah blah. I cannot read a dialogue that is written like that. You know, there's just no heart in it. There's no soul in this book. And it's tried to be funny. It is not funny to me. It's just really boring. I paid for it 20 euros and now I'm trying to sell it and get just some of my money back because I cannot believe that I spent that much money on this book. And I read some Goodreads review of this book and all of them are not good. First of all, this book doesn't have that many reviews, and you would think if the book doesn't have that many reviews that the reviews that it has would be better, but they're just not good. So I just DNF'd this book and I'm not sorry for DNFing it. I feel a lot lighter now. Okay, now we got that out of way. All the other books on this list are 2.5 stars or more. So the next worst book that I read, that is actually a lot better than this one, is The Rabbit Hutch by Tess Gunty. I don't have this book physically. I read it in ebook form. So I found this book in library, not in library, in bookstore, and I thought it sounded really fun. And I started reading it there, but then I just had this feeling like maybe it's not a book that I will want to have. True that, I don't want to have this book. It's okay, but it's just all over the place also. And you know, it starts really interesting with this main character who gave herself name Blondine. It starts with her going out of her body and you don't know why is she having this out of body experience, why is this all happening, and then you kind of go back into the past, her past and past of all the people that live in this Rabbit Hutch building. That's how they call it. The thing that I didn't really like about this book is that on start you find out about all the apartments in this building and all the people in those apartments, but then you just follow some of them, and I didn't know why do I need to know about others then if I'm not gonna be following them or anything. And the end was okay, I guess, but it was just not a memorable book for me, and it's fine, I guess. So yeah. Okay, so the next book I'm gonna be talking about, that series I read just plainly for having a laugh, but it's kind of couldn't read the third part just yet. I have to take a rest of this series a little bit, and that is Present City, House of Sky and Breath, Sarge Maas. They're not good books, I already talked about that. I just read them because they're funny to me, but it's just 800 pages of not that good book. I'm trying to think, why did I do that to myself? I'm still gonna read it all because the covers of these books are beautiful. But yeah, just the book itself and the story itself, I don't really care about it. It's, again, all over the place because everything is happening. It's reality TV show inspired. Anyway, the things that I really cringe on in this book are all the sex scenes, all the sexual innuendos. I don't like them. Just makes me kind of uncomfortable to read about it. There's too many things happening, like I already said. There are werewolves, there are angels, there are archangels, there are fairies, there are human fairies, there are all of those things that I don't think should all be in this book. But you know what? I'm pretty sure that when I get over the second book and when I kind of can take a breath from this series, I will be able to read the third book. Okay, the next book is not a book that is bad. It's a book that I just didn't know how to rate on, and I wouldn't be rating it anyway. And also, I just kind of feel like all the other books on this list I had more fun. I think it's just a necessary read for me. So it's not a bad book by all means, but that is Towards a New Architecture. Yeah. I'm gonna be pronouncing that again. This book, it was fine, it was interesting. As I said, if you're an architecture student, I recommend this book. I think it's a book that you should probably read. It has a lot of opinions. He was an opinionated man, and I don't agree with all of them. I don't agree with most of them, maybe even, but I do find it interesting to read about them, and I do think he was a great architect, and I do think that his opinion do matter and are opinions that we should all think about. So let's go with that. The next book I read is a bit of a letdown, not gonna lie, because I had big expectations for it because I loved the first book by this author and I already talked about this book, and it is Education in Malice, an Education Malice by S.T. Gibson. I will not say that I didn't enjoy this book, but it was just not as good as I thought it's going to be. I gave it 3 stars. I believe it's more towards 4 stars than 2 stars. I think it's probably going to be 3.5, but I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. I already talked about this book, so I don't think I have to talk about it anymore, but it was a fun read, but it just didn't deliver what I wanted it to deliver, and I was kind of sad because of that. But you know, I still do believe that S.T. Gibson is an author that I really will enjoy in the future, and I will definitely pick up other books that she writes. Okay, so we're going to 4-star reads now, and the next book I'm going to be talking about is the one that I was really surprised. Yes, I was really surprised by it because I heard not great things about this book, and that is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I actually enjoyed this book very much. It was really fun read, and I love the characters. The 2 main characters were so fun to read, and the banter between them was really fun. And the whole premise of this book, I don't see this book as Hunger Games. I see that it's inspired by Hunger Games, but I don't think you should try to find another Hunger Games. I don't think this book is another Hunger Games, but it is a great Hunger Games inspired book, I would say. I love the world, this cyberpunk world, and then just like my imagination that made this city that they were in, that was full of these houses and top houses and top houses and these narrow little streets, and it just kind of reminded me a bit of Alice in Borderland. Some of the episodes of the TV show Love, Death and Robots also. I just think this book is hated for that good of a reason. I tried reading Chloe Gong's other book, These Violent Delights. I didn't like that book at all. I didn't find characters interesting, and I didn't find the story or plot interesting. It just didn't make any sense to me. This one is so much better for me. So I know why it's hated that much. I really don't, and people just don't give it a chance. I know, I didn't think that the writing style was that bad as people are saying in comments in reviews on Goodreads. I'm definitely gonna be picking up the sequel of this book, and I'm gonna try to order it in this edition also. Okay, for the next book, I already talked about this book also, so I'm not gonna be talking about it that much. But that is Godsgrave by J. Christoph. Also, a 4-star read. It's a decent book. I liked it more than the first book. I liked the inspiration that he took from Roman Empire and from gladiator fights. I didn't really read that many books that had that kind of inspiration, although I know they're out there, but I just didn't privilege to read them yet. I really did enjoy it, and I enjoy the politics of this world. Main character, I do get a little bit of stale taste in my mouth because of all the teen sexual scenes, but you know, I just kind of get through it. It's not that important to me, and I don't mind his writing style. I enjoy him as a writer, so I didn't mind this book. I actually enjoyed it quite. I don't know why I said I didn't mind this book. I enjoyed it quite enough. I mean, I gave it 4 stars, but yeah. It was a great book. The next book I read is Bitter Twins. Not the next book I read. The next book towards the best book is Bitter Twins by Jen Williams. I also talked about this book a lot, so I'm not gonna go into it. It's a great book. I really enjoyed it. I have a sequel, and I can't wait to pick it up because I really like this world, and I think it's kind of a hidden gem, this series, because not a lot of people talk about it, and I really do think people should pick it up more often, and I really enjoy them, and I really recommend them. So yes. The next 2 books I also didn't read because I don't read manga, but they're 12th and 13th volume of The Promised Neverland. Yes, I read finally these 2. I think I read the 11th volume 2 months ago even. I don't really remember, but I remember these. I read these today, and I really enjoyed them. I really love this series, and I love the characters and the premise. I think I talked about The Promised Neverland also, but there are these orphans that find out they're not just regular orphans, but they are more of there's something bigger at stake, and their lives are at stake. So they just have to deal with that, and they run away and they escape, and then it follows all of them and how they survive and how they're fighting. And it's really interesting because they're only kids, and I don't read a lot of books where kids are main character and it's not a middle grade. I really didn't read those kind of books before. I really enjoy this manga, so yeah, it's probably my favorite manga currently. The last 2 books I don't have physical copies of, but I'm just going to show them here. So the first one is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This book I really wanted to read so bad for so long, and I had it in ebook form, and I finally read it, and I enjoyed it so much. It's between 4 and a 5-star for me, probably 4.5. I wanted to save it for kind of summerween, because I do plan to read a lot of horror books this month and the month after this one, which is August. Which is August, and I do plan to read more horror books, but this one was just on my list for so long, and I really wanted to read it. I'm so happy I did. Every chapter is named by a song from 80s because the happenings of the book are in 80s. So every chapter is called by a song, and then you have a playlist on Spotify that you can listen to, and I listened to it and I got a full immersion read. This is one of those books that I would just open and I would be instantly in the story. I'm really happy that I decided to read more horror books for the next 2 months because I think it's a good idea for me because I really love horror books. I really am enjoying them. This book is about 2 friends. There are more of them, but 2 are main. One of them gets possessed and starts acting weird, and the other one is the only one who thinks that she's possessed. Nobody else believes. Everybody thinks that she's weirdo, and now she needs to unpossess her friend or do an exorcism on her friend, and it's really fun to read. Also, the ending was really sweet, so I really enjoyed this book. For the last book that I read, this month, and that is the best book that I read this month, and that is The Deep by Rivers Solomon. I believe there are co-authors for this book, but I think Rivers Solomon is the main one. This book is really short. It's 150 pages-ish long. It is about descendants of African slave women. They were thrown overboard, started to evolve into kind of mermaids. They shape-shifted throughout the day, throughout evolution. They shape-shifted and they started calling themselves, I think it's pronounced Vajinru or Vanjiru. I'm not sure, but one of those. They are these kind of mermaids. They live underwater, of course, because they have this past that is really, really hard on all of them. Every few years, they select one of the members that will become their historian. And this historian is the only one who can actually provide some kind of history for them. And every year, the historian shares memories with all the other members of this society. So this historian shares the memories with all the other members of the society. Then she needs to take them back. And it's really hard for historian because the historian is the only one who needs to deal with all of these traumas from the past. So she escapes, and then we follow her and we follow what the other members are going through, because they're having this influx of all of these memories that they don't remember, and nobody's there to lead them through it. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and the writing style is so beautiful, and I feel like it's one of those important stories that I think people should read, and I recommend it to everybody who can get their hands on it to read it, because I believe it's one of the prettiest writing styles I've ever read, and it's really intriguing. And I didn't read quite a lot of books that are happening underwater. It's also that is a new thing for me. But yeah, anyway, that is it for this video. I hope I was thorough and fast. Thank you guys for watching it. The next video is probably going to be what I want to read. I'm gonna be filming that now. Thank you for watching, and thank you for staying till the end. Anyway, bye.